Gonna do a quick video on how I'm doing in preparing my doors for the cabin. So to start off, super sweet, I found these frames for these nice glass doors just on the side of the street. I got 3 nice big frames. Anyways, they're big enough to, first of all, make my upper glass door. I already have the glass cut, so it's perfect. All I needed was the outside. And then for my bottom door, I'm going to be using the door from the old cabin, but I just need to beef it out a little bit because we made the door a bit bigger. So I'm hoping that I can just kind of scab some of this on the outside to make it big enough. So let me just kind of show you what I've got going on for the upper glass door. All right, so here's the door, or the frame anyways. So super sweet. It's got this little reveal. They just tape the little extra trim on there, but the glass just sits inside. So that's super awesome. So what I did is I figured out my door size. Now I measured my bottom and top width, my left and right height, and they should be the same, which they were. And then I checked my diagonals as well to make sure that this door is square. If it is out a little bit, or one of these measurements isn't quite exactly right, I do have an 1.5 inch strip that goes around my door frame that this door is going to sit on. So there is a bit of room to play. But anyways, these are my numbers that I got. And I calculated the width of these side rails. The legs of the door, I calculated that, subtracted it to get my inside glass piece, which again I already have cut. So now this door, what I'm doing to modify it to make it this size that I need is, you can see these cuts that I'm going to be making diagonally. I'm doing some miters in the corners. That's going to bring that in to the 23 3/8, which is from this point to this point. Then bring it down. It's a little bit confusing down here, but what's happening is this is going to be my bottom piece, cutting up and diagonally. And so then my legs on the sides, which are going to be these guys, will come in flush into here. Like I was thinking how else I would do this, but I would end up with a 45 going like all the way from my point here up, which would make where my glass sits way too small, which is not what my calculations called for. So anyways, I ended up with this. So I'm going to cut this out, and then again my leg's going to come sit down here. Now this difference here is this, because my leg I measured all the way to the floor, but this is coming into contact at this point, which is I forget how many, 4 1/4 inches up off the ground. So I had to subtract that on the length of the leg on this side. Last thing, you can see that this side and this side are much different. That's because I'm going to be cutting out this old door handle that was notched out here, because these were old sliders. So anyways, that's going to come out. That's why this is a lot lower. So I'll cut all those out and I'll glue, and I'm going to drill and dowel these corners to keep them all together. And I'll be doing all of this on the floor because it's a flat surface to work on. There isn't a lot of space in the garage right now. It's pretty crowded. So on the floor we'll have to do right now. So I'm going to get cutting and show you what it all looks like. Okay, well here it is, all kind of put in place before glue up. It was a bit of a pain in the butt because I just had to use a little skill saw. I don't have a sliding compound miter saw or anything like that, so I know my miters aren't perfect, but I did the best I could, took my time. So I'll glue those up nicely, keep everything straight and flat, and then yeah, we'll do a nice final sand over it all and insert the glass. It should be pretty sweet. All right, so I let these doors just set up overnight. let all the glue dry. Now, my upstairs glass door, that's all good. The frame's solid. I'll just trim my little dowels that as you can see, I put through the corners. Trim those off, sand them smooth, sand the face, make it all nice and pretty. I'll install my glass, and then the handle and the hinges, and the rest I will do up at the cabin. With this main front door, it was a bit of a challenge because I used this old slab from the door before, and anyways, it's particle board inside, and so I had to re-rip the top, bottom, and the edge because the last cabin I custom made it to fit my opening, which wasn't perfectly square and straight. In this cabin it is. I made sure of that, so I had to re-square this up, but all these edges, like I said, are just particle board. So I glued as much as I could and pinned it, and the top and bottom I put dowels through, but still there wasn't a lot of support because you know, there's no solid wood to go to glue to even. The glue, you could, you know, just with a hammer you could pop this off. So anyways, what I got is a couple 1x8 and 1x4, and what I'm gonna do is put a nice swath of 1x8 across the bottom and glue these faces together, one on top, one on bottom, and you know, that the surface I'll be able to glue easily, and that will hold it nice and secure. And then I'm going to use the 1x4 to do a diagonal strip across just to make it look aesthetically pleasing. Do that on the inside and outside, but I need to remember that on the inside I have to keep it all back away from the edges 1.5 inches, which is my jamb, what I have in my frame. So I'm going to just get to that really quickly, get it all done and finished, and I will let you see the final product. Alright, so this is the door kind of all put together, pieces on. You know, it looks alright. I was kind of worried about how it turned out. Again, you know, these guys top and bottom, you know, I got a lot of glue in there, nice to hold it all together. The back side, you can see, have to keep it all back from the edges. I went a good 1.75 inches. As you can see, the sides here and here, just again for my jamb when it closes. I would rather it be a little too much rather than too little, and try to, you know, fart around with shortening those up afterwards. So that's pretty much it. I'm just going to give it a final stain. I'll get all the hardware, bring it all up to the cabin, sand up my upstairs door, and then I'll meet you up there and show you the install. Alright, so I've got my door in. I've cut it so it fits in the opening. Now the next thing I installed my door handle and lock. I already had holes drilled in here from my last when it was on the last cabin, so you know, I had to just go off of what I had. I had to do some tinkering around to make it work, but it's really not that hard. Most of the little handles come with a little template that you stick on for where you got to drill your hole. You know, it's really kind of self-explanatory. For my hinges, regular layout goes something like 7 inches to the top of hinge from their top of door, 11 inches from the bottom to the bottom side of your hinge on the bottom hinge, and the middle one is just centered in between those two. So I've got it kind of roughly at that layout. It's not exactly, because I just eyeballed where I wanted these things pretty much. It's close. I've got like 6.5 on the top and maybe 10 on the bottom. But anyways, to do my hinges, I've got my door in.
I had to cut it down a little bit because it was a little tight, and if anything, I want a little bit of room because I do have 1.5 inches to play with on either side, top and sides, because of I've got that stop on there. So the bottom, I've got my threshold in there, and then I put a shim to shim this thing up 1/4 of an inch, an eighth to a quarter. So I still got a little bit of room on top, but that way I can put my door sweep on there, and it's not going to be, you know, rammed right up against the ground. I want to have a bit of clearance so there's no rubbing there if anything does shrink or swell. So for my hinges, these are the hinges I'm using. Just stuck it up to the door approximately where I wanted, marked on my door, marked on my frame. Did that on all 3. I'm gonna go and lay these out now. But you gotta figure out how far your hinge is gonna be sitting. By the looks of it, this is gonna be flush, which I want. There's a bit of resistance right now just because the door or the frame might be a little warped. It's not much, but when I get the hinges on and this thing latches, it'll be no problem. So I'm gonna lay these out the same on door and jamb. Again, I'm gonna maybe leave it away from my actually door stop on the inside, maybe just a 1/16, because that's where I'm gonna put my weather stripping, this stuff. So as you can see, this is gonna go on the door stop, and it's got, you know, when it compresses, maybe a 1/16 of size there. So I want to leave a little bit of room for that. So I'm gonna get this down, mark these out, chisel it out so I got this sitting flush, and then I'll get that all put together and show how you just kind of notch out for your deadbolt and handle. Alright, so for this door latch, I've kind of got this laid out. All I did was have my door closed, and I laid out the top and bottom of my latch, found the center, and then I determined from the from the front of the door to the edge of the latch here is 5/8. This is flush with this. So I measured 5/8 back is where I need the front of this plate, this piece to be. So I got that mark, lined it up, found the center. That is where I'm gonna drill my hole, and then I'm gonna lay this in, mark it out, chisel it out, drop it in, boom. Same thing with the deadbolt, and then it's just the weather stripping. All right, so here it is, all finished up. Got my sweep underneath the bottom there. Got on all my stripping. So solid. It's not going anywhere. So as you can see, I had to notch this out. I did that in the old cabin as well. Just the way the handles work with your door, and because I got this big thick stop. So as you can see, I kept all this back. So it would fit in here. I had to do a bit of creative stripping to seal around all this, because it wasn't perfectly tight. It was kind of like this, so I got made some little fillers. So, you know, it's not going to be perfect, but, you know, that's pretty airtight. It's a little tight, but I like that because I know that it's nice and sealed and it's not going to be shaking around when the wind's blowing. As you can see, there's a gap. Because I was using this door and using existing holes that were drilled. So I changed the width of the door. So that changed this layout a little bit. I'm just gonna fill that with some brown caulking. But otherwise, yeah, thing works sweet. Lock it up. It's nice. I actually clear the deck this time. Just my stripping hitting that. On the other deck, it actually bottomed out. So I'll have to figure out some sort of a stop. Right now, it's actually just catching my handle here, which isn't a very good thing. But anyways, I'll figure out something there. Maybe even just put a little block with a bumper on it. But yeah, otherwise that's pretty much it. Just got to give her a good stain. That's pretty solid. So again, on the outside too, there's a little bit of a gap. So I'll just fill that, but there you go. Sealed and dealed. So again, I just got to stain this and it'll be good to go. Nothing else really going on with this door. I had to install this top hinge all in one piece and screw it on rather than in two pieces and put the door on and put the pin in, because of the fact I got this here keeping this pin from coming out. So that might have been, I didn't mean to do that, and it was kind of, I guess you would think it might be an inconvenience, but that is actually going to be good for people who really want to try to get in here. They're not going to be able to get this top pin out, which is going to be very helpful because they're not going to be able to take the door down then. So that kind of worked out. I'm going to just go ahead and do the top door, same thing, and I'll show you the finished product. Ooh. All sealed. So again, same deal. Laid these out. So handles here are typically 38 inches from the ground, and then I just eyeballed this a couple inches up. The hinges I had to build out a little bit, or sorry, notch out a little bit, because of the fact that this door, when it's closed, it's inset from here. So this hinge barrel is sitting in the frame here, so I had to build that out. I had them all like this before, nice and tight, but then I had to trim it away because it was squeaking. I didn't want that, so I'll give all that another stain after. Same with this door again, needs to get stained. I need to just get all this extra caulking, clean it all up. But anyways, again, that thing is a beauty. I absolutely love it. Glass was a sweet idea. So, and then on this side, had to just cut that down a little bit. Same thing here, cut that down so the handle can fit. Stripping again. Now I'm glad I made this door a little smaller, because the fact that I didn't have to notch these out, it's not a big deal if you don't. It was just nice because there's one less thing I had to do, and those still obviously work just the same. For this stripping, if you come here, you can see obviously when I close, it closes onto this. Same with on the top, it closes straight in. But on this side, on my last cabin, I was using much wider weather stripping. So when I closed my door, this point here actually grabbed the stripping and pulled it off to the side. So what I ended up doing was put the stripping actually on the back here, or on the back of the door. So when it closed, it just squished it shut rather than trying to slide it off sideways. But because this stuff I got is nice and skinny, it's not doing that. So I put it up against this close edge, because you can see when I close this door, that point that would tear it off has already passed. If I put it at the back corner, it would probably screw it up. But I can close this, and by this point, all it's doing is pressing flat. You know? Same with at the top corner. There's nothing getting ripped off, so turned out pretty sweet. The bottom on this was a lot nicer because it runs full all the way across. So I just put my sweep again all the way, and then it seals on my stripping on either side. So there it is. Well, thanks everyone for watching this quick video on how to make and install the doors. Hope you found this useful. If there's any questions you have, please let me know. Turned out really nice. Look forward to my next video. Have a good night, and I'll see you in my next video.